Welcome to I'm Too Busy, an interview-based show hosted by a talented makeup artist, Christina Flach. Christina offers viewers a unique blend of personal stories, inspiring journeys, and practical beauty tips. Join the conversation as Christina features successful individuals from various industries who share their insights on health, wellness, makeup, and the keys to their success. So now, please welcome the host of I'm Too Busy, Christina Flach.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of I'm Too Busy. I am Christina Flach, your host, and today we are going to be chatting with Teal West. She is a dedicated Alaskan entrepreneur and community leader from the picturesque town of Sitka, Alaska. Born and raised in Southeast Alaska, Teal developed a deep appreciation for her natural surroundings and local heritage. After briefly leaving to pursue education in Oregon, she returned to her beloved Sitka, where she's built multiple successful businesses while raising two beautiful daughters. What's particularly impressive is Teal's commitment to preserving local heritage, as demonstrated by her purchase and renovation of the historic Rockwell Lighthouse in 2017. Now known as the Sitka Lighthouse. Her entrepreneurial spirit extends to commercial fishing, restaurant ownership, and most recently, the Sitka Lighthouse Company store, which has become a vibrant community hub since opening in 2020. Welcome, Teal. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Christina, for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Oh, I'm
Thank
so excited
you.
to chat with you. So, what was your journey like growing up in Sitka, and how did it shape your entrepreneurial spirit? And is that something that your parents taught you, or is it something do you think that's just in you?
I love that question. Growing up in Sitka, I would say in one word, if I summed it up, would be adventurous. I spent a lot of my childhood hunting and fishing and just exploring the great outdoors of Alaska. So my dad was an avid outdoorsman. And my parents moved to Sitka. They were teachers from Minnesota. So I wouldn't say that my parents instilled the entrepreneurial spirit in me, but my grandmother did for sure. My dad's mom, her name was May, and she was a hairdresser. And I remember when I was about 10 years old, she told me, she said, whatever you do, Teal, make your own money. And I think the reason she told me that was because I later found out in life that she really wanted to have her own salon. And she was probably one of the busiest salon owners on her block in Minnesota. But my grandfather did not want her to work outside the home. And so she really instilled a strong entrepreneurial spirit in me because it turned out when she passed away, we actually found out that she was making more money per year than my grandfather did in her salon basement.
That's
And yet
amazing.
he never knew. And so that's really my inspiration. She's my inspiration. I have her high school diploma and a couple pictures of her hair salon in my office. And I spent a lot of time there as a kid. And so I look at those pictures of her in her salon often, and she really has inspired me in the entrepreneurial world. So
I
that's a little
love
bit of
that.
background about me. Yeah.
It's so funny that we have that in common as well. My grandmother was a hairstylist in her home as well. Isn't that
Oh,
funny? I
yes.
have never met
That's amazing.
anyone besides you that has that same, that we have the same thing in common. So, what's your favorite part of living on the island of Sitka, and what's the biggest challenge?
I would say that my favorite part is definitely my community and how close everybody is and how in our community we often look out for each other in many different ways. And I would say that for me as well, it's also the beauty of living in Sitka, Alaska. I don't know if I've been to a prettier place on a sunny day, but with that being said, the challenges definitely for me would be the winters here. So that dark light, the rain, the wet, and the cold. That's a huge challenge for living here. It's not. I tell everybody like it's not for the faint of heart. For
Definitely
sure.
not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. So, you ventured into commercial fishing with your husband. owning a restaurant, and now the historic preservation of your lighthouse. What connects these diverse business interests?
So for me, um, it always went back to, I think for me, the connections always just gone back to my community and then the economic development of my community. So having businesses that support other community members, whether it's with employees or crew on the boat, the restaurant was a really great social hub for people to come together and congregate. And so that was really important when that was open, I would say, for downtown Sitka. People still ask me today, it was kind of funny when I opened my store, everyone thought that I was maybe opening my restaurant again. And I said, no, I'm not. But it really spoke to how many people in the really love that place to go and gather. And that's what's always been really important to me is creating businesses or being in businesses that create connections within my community with each other.
I love that. The Rockwell Lighthouse has significant historical importance. What inspired you to purchase and renovate it in 2017?
So I was born and raised here. And so I grew up kind of watching, and just the lighthouse was always in the background for me. It was always a place that was a monument to our community. And I watched it kind of deteriorate over the years. And I had been out of having, I had closed my business. I had been closed for about a year, and I was looking for the next entrepreneurial endeavor. And so I saw the price drop, but I had heard that a couple from Texas had an offer on the table and earnest money had been given. And I thought to myself, kind of my gut feeling was like, oh, I really want that place to stay local. It's really important to the
Hmm.
town that it stays local. And then all of a sudden I saw it back on the market. And I just knew right then and there I needed to go and take a look. And so in that moment, we came out. It was actually Mike who really inspired me to, he just kept saying, go look at it, go look at it. Like, I think you're gonna like it. And the minute I stepped foot on the island, it was just like an ultimate yes. And we still joke to this day, like I didn't even have to come inside. It was just like a yes. Like, I think I had Burgess on the phone within 20 minutes telling him, like, let's work this out. Let's do this. And I always say, like, the rest is history. So that was my
And
inspiration.
how do you approach balancing historical preservation and modern renovations when you're transforming the lighthouse? What was that like?
Yeah, so it was really important for me to reuse a lot of the same materials. So we repurposed a lot of things. I didn't want to change the structure of the lighthouse or really have any of the layout change. I wanted to keep a lot of those original features. We did have to redo the kitchen and the bathroom and really update those amenities, but
Mhm.
keeping the overall basic layout and aesthetic was really important, and reusing as much as we could was important as well.
How long did it take to do the entire renovation?
So we bought it in November. So it was November 17th we bought it. We started December 1st. We renovated for 4 solid months, hauling things out to the island. And we had a crew of 3. Mike headed the whole construction side of it. I headed the design side of it, but then he took off and had to go long lining. And so he left for about a month and a half. And so I would came out and worked on it off and on, but I would say start to finish, it was about 5 months total. So it was
Wow,
fast. It was
that is
like as
fast.
fast as we could go for all the things we got done.
And so what happened after the renovation? Did you start having guests, or how did that go?
Yeah. So the minute that I bought the place, I put the lighthouse online to be rented. And so I started having, even though it wasn't done, a lot of my guests, my first year, it was kind of like an act of faith that it
Oh,
was
that it
going to
would
look,
be done.
yeah, it would be done, and it would look nice, and it wouldn't, I had some sketches of what I was hoping it would look like. I told everybody what I was doing, but obviously the pictures weren't there yet. So lots of faith by my first year guests. So thank you for that if you're listening. and and so I I just kind of, you know, took reservations in and like left it up to the divine to step in and make it work out for me, and it did. I think we were fully sold out that first year. So that was great.
So how many days did you sell out the first year?
So we opened, actually, ironically, I just realized this the other day. We opened on my Grandma May's birthday. My first guest showed
Okay,
up on her
there's no,
birthday.
oh my
I
gosh, I
know.
just got goosebumps,
Yeah.
and there's no coincidences. She was
And
so pivotal in helping you, for sure.
totally. And I did not even realize that until I started prepping for this interview. And I thought to myself, like, how did I miss that? I don't usually miss those details, but
Right.
you asked one of your questions. I'll bring us back to that. But one of the questions made me realize, I looked at my reservation. I was like, oh my gosh, it was May 21st of 2018, and that's her birthday. So I thought,
Wow.
wow, like what a divine, intervention there by
It's
her.
even more special, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So how many, like, where do people come from? Where have they come from the farthest? Is it basically the, continental United States, or where have your guests
Yeah,
come
I've
from?
had, most of them come from the United States. I've had a few guests. I have had some guests from Australia, England, Germany. I think the furthest, Japan. I've had a couple guests,
Wow.
some guests from Japan, but mostly the United States. But the thing that I love about hosting um, so many well-traveled guests that I've had is that they 9 times out of 10 say like this is one of the most, if not the most magical places that we've been to, and special places that we've been to. And so that's really fun for me to hear.
I love that. Tell me a little bit about the Netflix show that you were on.
Yeah. So I had a cold call from a producer, and I was pregnant with my son when they called. And this was prior to COVID. So I started interviewing in 2019 for the show. I had to go through 4 or so interviews and then send in videos. And so I was going through kind of the process of getting on the show, and then COVID hit. And we did not know if it was going to happen or not. We were kind of like, mid-pandemic, didn't know what was going to happen. I knew I was going to be on the show. They had told me, okay, you've made it. You're going to be one of the property owners on the show. But we just didn't know what was going to happen with the quarantining in Alaska at that point. Our state had some quarantine regulations. You had to stay somewhere pretty isolated for the testing for a few days. And actually, I at that moment had a repeat guest. Netflix gave me like 10 days notice and said, okay, we're coming. And I had repeat guests that were staying at the lighthouse, and I called them and I said, their names are Marie and David. And thank you to Marie and David. I said, Netflix is coming. They've given me a 10-day window. Would you be so kind as to changing your reservation dates or going to a different property? And they said, we believe in you so much, Teal, we will. And so
Oh
thank you
my
to Marie and
God, that's
David.
amazing.
I was so lucky to have them in that moment, because they really opened that door for me to be able to give Netflix a solid yes in a time where, we were all testing 5 or 6 times a day just to keep the cameras rolling. And anyway, the show turned out great. It was really fun. It was a great experience to be part of, and I'll always be really grateful for that time.
What was the show called?
World's Most Amazing Vacation Rentals. So I'm on season 1, and I'm one of 3 properties on private islands, I believe.
Wow,
That's
that
really
is
cool.
remarkable. Did that make a big change, like with your marketing and with people, finding out about your about your beautiful lighthouse?
Y- Yeah, for sure. The thing that I would say was the coolest about the show, like than anything, is, we got a lot of reservations, but what was the coolest thing is to this day, I'll be in the store and the cruise ship passengers will come in the store shopping and say, I saw this lighthouse on Netflix. I saw this lighthouse on Netflix. So for me, I really like what I told the producers. What was more important for me than anything was obviously, the show was going to benefit my business. I knew that. But I knew that if I was sold out, that show would help other people have the incentive to come to Sitka. And where I've seen that is then turning around and really like hearing that in cruise ship passengers that come to town. I'm like, the outreach is
Right.
probably more than I even realized. So it was a great thing for my community more than anything.
How many visitors does Sitka get a year on these cruise ships, do you think?
Yeah, so tourism in our community is I would say I would say it's top one or two behind, commercial fishing. Um, and then we have a large hospital here that employs a lot of people. But with the decline in commercial fishing, tourism is sliding into that number one
Mhm.
space, especially cruise tourism. So our community brought in, um, we had 550,000 passengers last year.
Wow, that is remarkable.
And so we actually brought in around $6 million in sales tax revenue in cruise tourism alone for our community, which is huge. So
Wow.
what we've seen in our community, and this is really important to me right now, especially because there's an initiative right now to limit cruise tourism in our community. Um, and so what we're finding out through all the research that we're doing and the data we're seeing in the sales tax trends is that cruise tourism since the pandemic has allowed our community to fund the schools to the end cap. We've taken a lot of our maintenance out of the district's responsibility, out of their line items, and we've been
Mhm.
able to fund those with cruise tourism, which is really important. Um, and so, that 550,000 passengers a year, it really sounds like a lot, and we're finding different ways to mitigate it. But what it's doing for our community that I've seen in the last 2 years that's incredible is the amount of businesses that have started around tourism here. And I think
I'm
for me, with my entrepreneurial spirit, I tell everybody, Sitka right now, if you want to go into tourism, the doors are opening left and right. You can pretty much open anything tourism related in Sitka right now and be successful with it if you have the drive and the confidence and the work ethic to do so. And I love to see that, especially on an island with 14 miles of road. It's really rare to find that.
Oh,
So
definitely.
yeah, so that cruise tourism is really important to our community.
And so some people in your community are trying to diminish it or control it a little more by like how or not letting it expand.
Yeah, so actually there's a group in town that just turned in enough signatures. We're going to have um, a vote. They have turned in enough signatures for a citizens initiative that limits that actually cuts that tourism from 550 down to 300,000. But the way that the initiative's written with the permitting process, we're looking at probably around 50,000 passengers a year, which is inevitable bankruptcy for most small
Oh
businesses.
my gosh, it'll
Yeah,
destroy your economy for sure.
completely. And so we're looking at, any business that's open probably within the last 3 years will go under, that's related to cruise tourism. But really, we've had the scary thing is we've had business owners come out that have been in tourism for 30 years that have said this will destroy my business and I will go out of business. And so
That's
that's really
scary.
concerning for our community. And even the high schoolers that have been surveyed, in regards to what they do for summer employment. 75% of them work in tourism related to the cruise industry. So the trickle down effect is huge if this were to pass. And it's really important to, again, just reiterate, we're an isolated community. We only have so many ways to bring in revenue and have a healthy economy here. And it's important that we keep that in mind for
Oh gosh,
whomever's
I can't.
listening.
Yes. Your
Yeah.
Sitka Lighthouse store opened in 2020. That was challenging timing with the pandemic. How did you navigate launching during such uncertain times?
That's a good question. So, I had a lot of local shoppers, and the locals really came out and supported downtown businesses during that time in the pandemic, and I'm so appreciative for that. And but something that I did that I would say was pretty innovative was I leveraged the lighthouse during the pandemic. And I as soon as Alaska, so we shut down a lot like Hawaii. So our governor said, if you're going to come into the state of Alaska, you have to test before you come in. You have to come in negative. You have to quarantine when you're here. And so I had heard that, and I thought, okay, I've got a new store. I was a couple months into opening the store. I had not taken out any loans for my inventory to open the store. I was only, I was 2 years into owning the lighthouse, and I thought, how am I going to leverage everything so that I can continue to have cash coming in, so that the store could stay open, the lighthouse could be healthy. How am I going to use both of these businesses hand in hand, kind of to support each other? But really, it was the lighthouse that supported the store during that time. And the way I did that was because people were able to fly into Sitka, and I was able to take them from the airport directly to the lighthouse. They were able to do all of their quarantining here. And then they were able to go on to other places in Alaska, and they could go on, charter fishing, guides, or they could go up into interior Alaska and take the train at that point. And so the lighthouse became pretty imperative for being like almost a stopover or a hub, or just a place where people would come and quarantine. And that's when everyone started working remotely and working online. And so I had a lot of people that did that as well. And so during the pandemic for me, when you opened a retail store in 2020, when a lot of people were going out of business, unfortunately, I was able to float the store through the lighthouse with that type of marketing, with the way that I marketed the lighthouse. And so I will be ever grateful that I had the lighthouse during that time. I never thought that would be the case, the situation. Nobody thinks that that's going to happen. And then in 2021, we still did not have cruise ships. We had some independent travel, but we didn't have much in the way of cruise ships. And so the lighthouse, again, was imperative for me. It was imperative for keeping the store open, which I really wanted to continue on doing.
Well, kudos to you. I mean, how remarkable that you had two businesses simultaneously, one helping the other. And I mean, bravo to you is all I can say. How does
Thank
your
you.
store serve as more than just a retail space for the Sitka community?
So for me, the store is really just a hub to advertise Sitka, and really advertise the lighthouse. So as soon as the lighthouse had a fresh coat of paint, I had people emailing me left and right, where can I get a t-shirt? Where can I get, anything that had the lighthouse on it? And I had always wanted to open a retail store. I love design. I love the idea of having a place that could feel like the lighthouse that was in town. So even though you may not stay with me, or you may not come to the lighthouse, my vision with the store was to have that same feel when you step foot into the store. So that connection to my customers, that I have the same connection with my guests. So a lot of the aesthetic that you see at the lighthouse, you also see in the store. A lot of the products that I have in the store, I also carry at the lighthouse and vice versa. So that was really important to me. But more than anything, with the store, it was a way for me to get my brand really like online,
Hmm.
and market the lighthouse brand just with another depth of a way to market it in that retail sector and online retail sector. And then with the cruise ship passengers, 35% of my guests are cruise ship passengers, like repeats for independent
Oh,
travel.
wow.
So I've gotten a lot of guests that way. They come in on a cruise ship, they come into the store, they'll talk to me or to my staff, and then they'll make a reservation for the following year or the year after. So that's been a
Wow.
really cool thing for me to take opportunity of.
So you're president of the Sitka Local Merchants Association. What initiatives are you most proud of?
So we're a fairly new association. When I had the restaurant, I got to know a lot of merchants on Lincoln, and we always said, okay, we need a local merchants association because we really want to develop um, shopping events and consistent things to do in our community, especially in the winter, when it's cold and wet and dark. But more than anything, the Merchant Association, the initiative that I am most proud of is growing commerce within our community, and the support of networking that we've all found within each other in such a short amount of time. And the association actually has come together kind of in a time of difficulty with this cruise initiative. We came together and said, hey, we want our voices heard as a group and as a body. And so it became very important to get the association going and really network with each other. But what I am finding out more than anything within the association and by leading associations, that there is such a great group of business owners within our community. And it's been so awesome to network and have the ability to come together and bounce ideas off of each other and hear people's experiences, whether you're 1 year in or you're 30 years in. Everybody has a story to tell, and everybody has an experience that's worth sharing and hearing. And for me as the president, being able to run the meetings in a way that create opportunity for people to talk about their experiences has been really important to me. So yeah.
Great. Well, you're known for championing women in business. What specific challenges do women entrepreneurs face in Alaska?
I would say, from what I've seen and what I've experienced, it would be probably more than anything the remote location that we live in.
Hmm.
With the remote location, networking opportunities may not be as great and as far reaching as you may find, in a city like Seattle. Mentorship, there aren't as many, I would say, mentors in Sitka that you can look to in specific areas, like let's use, food trucks, for example. There, if you want to find another entrepreneur who owns a food truck or has a restaurant, that could be far and few.
Hmm.
And that's just an example that I'm giving. But I would also say, more than anything, a lot of women don't have their families living here to support them if they've got little kids, and
Hmm.
that's tough on women in entrepreneurial careers. Not sometimes you don't have that support, and sometimes and so that can be difficult. I would say more than anything is
Yeah.
that remote location
Right.
without families.
It's a little isolating, I'm sure. What
for sure.
role does Alaska's natural environment play in your business philosophy, if at all?
Oh, I would definitely say that Alaska has played a pivotal role in my business philosophy. And um, really, I would say the role it's played is that nothing really scares me. I'm a huge it's shaped me into being a huge risk taker,
Hmm.
financially, physically. There's really nothing. I don't think you could really put anything in front of me as far as business goes and say, um, like figure this out, and I would be afraid of it. And I think that um it comes from growing up in a really physically challenging location and doing things that are really like adventure seeking, whether it's, being out in my 17-foot whaler in really bad weather and worrying that it was going to sink,
Oh my
to
gosh.
hiking up the side of a mountain, to, when I was 16, I flipped my kayak and I treaded water out in the middle of the ocean for 45 minutes. And right as, my friend and I were kind of laying our heads down on the kayak, and it was tough. A boat came along and picked me right up out of the water and put me on the deck of the boat. And I
Oh my
think back to
gosh.
that a lot I think back to that a lot. And I relate it back to business a lot for me, and especially with owning the lighthouse, that really, if you're able to put yourself in those physically challenging situations, or you've been in those physically challenging situations, it shapes your mind into being able to follow along behind that. So it's kind of, it's that saying, like, put, 2 feet forward or 1 foot forward, and like you'll follow. You'll just follow. And I do that a lot within my business. I'm like, okay, TL, just, it's 1 foot in front of the other. You can do it. And it comes from growing up here. And I know
I
it
would
does.
think, oh, definitely. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those in smaller remote communities?
You know, I would say that it's really it's really important to be your own hero. Don't wait for anyone else to do it for you. Do it yourself. Don't wait to find the funding. Put your own money on the line. Put your money where it's going to matter, and just go all in. I think that in Alaska, especially in Sitka, we have the highest nonprofit per capita here. And I've watched a lot of business owners like wait for those grants to come in, wait for kind of, that kind of like magical funding. And I'm not saying this to say, everybody has the funds to just throw their cash at whatever dream or desire they
Right.
have. I'm not saying it on that note, but I'm saying that it's really important to go all in and do it yourself, and don't wait, and start now. Like, start doing the little things, start doing the reps, do those things that are just going to continue to get you closer and closer to your business goals. And you'll get there. Like, you cannot quit, you can't give up, and you've got to be your own hero every day. Get up and be your own hero.
That is great advice. How do you manage balancing your life, raising a son and a daughter, while also managing, multiple businesses? How important, and then how important is self-care to you, and what do you do to spoil yourself?
So that's been I love that question, because it's a work in progress, for sure. And I think a lot of moms, whether you're in business or not, every mom at some point has struggled to find that balance. Um, and so for me, I would say that um, I've had to really learn how to take care of myself, especially after My daughter's 16, my son is 5. And so he was unexpected. And so I was like in a new business with a new baby. And that was probably, I would say, one of my greatest challenges. Just how was I going to navigate having a husband who's a commercial fisherman and gone for 5 months a year, having 2 fairly new businesses in the middle of a pandemic and a newborn. And, you know, I look back on that first year and I'm like, how did I do that? And that's when I really, there was 2 things. My mom was a huge help. So thank you, Mom, for helping me with, with Oren. And I had a great nanny that was helping me. And I called in every single support system I could find, whether it was, someone was helping me cook, to laundry, to housekeeping. Really, I gave myself that permission to say yes. Like I finally saw that it's okay to say yes. That was not like an indulgence or spoiling myself. That was just like a necessity. So any mom out there or new business owner, like I always tell my girlfriends, set all this stuff up before you have the baby or before you have the business. Like even before you open the doors of your business on day 1, set yourself up in your personal life to be as successful as you can, whether it's hiring somebody to help you with the housework, or saying to your partner, hey, this is really what I'm going to need. I'm going to need X, Y, and Z. Get those systems set up to make yourself successful before you start.
Lay the foundation.
Yes,
so it's not,
for sure.
So you're not just reacting,
For sure. Yeah.
And it's amazing because you don't even realize how strong you are. It's
You don't
until you're pushed to the test, which you clearly have multiple times. So how do you spoil yourself? If you do.
I've gotten better at it, and I don't even want to say this is like spoiling myself, because now it's such a necessity, but I have a lot of coaches in my life. I have mentors, I have coaches. I've spent the money to learn the tools that I've needed to learn energetically to keep myself grounded, to keep myself on track in business. I really have invested a lot back into myself, into me, not just into the physical location of my businesses, but really back into myself. And so I would say that keeps me going more than anything. And, if it's a matter, I always say, if it's a matter of like choosing, one thing over the other, choosing to reinvest in your physical business or yourself, if you're feeling burned out or worn out, always choose yourself. Go get the massage, spend the money to have the pampering done, or spend the money on the coach. Don't wait. Do it before you're burned out. I've been burned out. And we don't have all the time in the world, but I could go into that, where I know what burnout feels like. And I also know what balance feels like. And it's so much better to spend the money to feel balanced than it is to save the money, but you're like burned out. Like the bank account does not matter when you're burned out.
Doesn't.
And you're not enjoying it.
True.
Yeah.
I know that manifestation is a big thing to you. How did that come into your life? And what are you manifesting now?
So manifesting came into my life when I started investing in myself. My coach really taught me the foundation of what manifesting was and what it looked like and how I could use that in my life. And for me, manifesting has really come to me in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I'm manifesting things that are physical. Sometimes I'm manifesting things that are spiritual. It just really depends on where I'm at. And with me right now, the biggest thing that I'm doing in my life is I'm really working on manifesting the Lighthouse company being a legacy brand.
I love
And
that.
yeah, and what that looks like and how that will translate into my community in the future. And really, it's not my legacy for myself, it's the legacy for my community. This brand is. And so, how can I continue to look at my brand in that way? And then part of that is manifesting the different outreaches, the next steps, the vision, and where I'm going to go with it to really make sure that what I'm doing is something that will create a legacy for my community.
So looking ahead, what's next for the Sitka Lighthouse Company and your other ventures?
You know, like I have 100 things that, are floating around, and I'm a creative. I love to be creative. Like it's my thing. From, I'd love to do anything from a lighthouse cookbook to opening another retail location to concierge travel services. Like it could go anywhere for me. But really, what has really ignited my passion, like more than anything in the future with the lighthouse, is using the lighthouse as a tool to teach other women in business and inspire other women in business that you can really do anything you put your mind to. And probably for me, more than anything, I'd love to pay it forward and start coaching and start helping other women and really be a person that other female entrepreneurs can look up to and be the beacon that the lighthouse physically is. And I can be the beacon for other female entrepreneurs. And I think that's where this is going to go. I think that's where I'll end up. I think that for me, instinctually, that's where I'm going. I love to talk about business. I love to see other women in business. I love doing business in my community. And I also want to inspire my daughter that, being a woman in business gives you all the freedom in the world to make the choices that you want to make in your life. And that's what I love the most about being a woman in business. So yeah, I think I'm going to go down that road shortly, if
I
anything.
like that. I know you'll be super successful, whatever you do. What would people be surprised to know about Alaska?
I think that I think the most surprising thing when you come to Alaska is really the amount of infrastructure that we have more than anything. A lot of people, there's kind of that stereotypical like Alaska, the last frontier. We're kind of out like in the middle of nowhere. We are, but
Mhm.
we are very connected, to the lower 48. I would say that our state entrepreneurially is I think we have some of the like most creative, beautiful businesses in our state, from, you know, different artisans to brewing companies to distilleries to restaurants to retail stores. If you just travel throughout Southeast Alaska, like some of this shopping in Sitka is really incredible. And you wouldn't think that being on, a little island. But I would say that as far as the biggest surprise goes is just we're keeping up. We are keeping up. I would say even in certain ways we're leading the industry in certain areas when it comes to even, our marketing, like our travel marketing. I think our state does an incredible job with the way that we advertise Alaska. And I would say that, living in the last frontier gives us kind of that edge to maybe be a little more, um, willing to take a risk, or willing to kind of go out on a ledge and say, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to market my business in this way, or I'm going to go out and open a business that may be unique or different. And I think that is something that is surprising about Alaskans and Alaska in general.
What do you do when your day isn't flowing? And we all have days where just like, okay, nothing is going smoothly. What do you do?
So I've had to work at this. I just stop. Like, it doesn't matter if I have a guest to check in 30 minutes or 3 minutes. I have a, I just stop and I ground myself. And so what that means is basically I get myself centered and I connect myself back to the earth, and I get my head on my shoulders. And oftentimes, like if I can, I will go down to the ocean and I'll sit by the water. That's really grounding for me, that salt water. But I just take 30 seconds and I just stop. And it helps me to kind of clear my head, figure out what I'm going to do next. But more than anything, it just helps me balance myself out. Because, I can wake up in the morning and have a to-do list that's like 50 things long. And
Right.
sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. And on the days that they don't, sometimes they really don't. And so just really trying to stay present and in the moment and not freak out about the future. That's important to me because I'm the leader of my business. I'm the leader of my company. I'm the leader of my family, and I try my best to keep my head on my shoulders, even in those times that it feels really impossible.
Yes, I can completely relate. Where's your happy place?
Oh, it's the lighthouse for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, we had openings this week, and so I was like, oh, I want to do this interview from the lighthouse because it's so special to me. And the first couple of years that I had it, I didn't spend a lot of free time out here. I spent time out here working, and I
Mhm.
spent time out here, checking in my guests. And it was always like business related when I was at the lighthouse. But I've learned that my greatest ideas happen when I'm out at the lighthouse and I'm enjoying it and I'm stopping and I'm pausing and I'm taking time to reflect and I'm by the water and I'm hearing the waves and the ocean and and I'm looking up into the mountains and the scenery, and that's really my happy place. And that's where I get to just enjoy kind of the fruits of my labor. But it's where um I hope that I get to spend, you know the rest of my days. I guess, people will say to me like, what's an amount of money you'd sell it for? And in business, you never want to get, emotionally attached to your business.
Right.
You're not supposed to. But it'd be hard to sign on the dotted line with this place. That's how special it is to me. It'd be tough. That's how
Right.
much, yeah. I mean, of any place that I've been in the world, this this island is definitely um where I'm happiest. So for sure.
I love that. What is your favorite motto or quote?
Ooh, gosh. That's a good one. There's so many. Um, I think I have to go back. So I think I have to go back, and this is hilarious. Okay, anyone that's listening to this that knew me in high school, and the reason I'm going back is because when I said this quote in the high school yearbook, I didn't even know what it meant. I just had to find something and pick it, but now it's perfect. And it's by, I believe it was Walt Whitman, and there's there's one thing I know about life. It goes on. And the reason I love that quote and I go back to it a lot is because there's been a lot of things in my life that I faced. And that quote reminds me that above a lot of the stuff, you have to be resilient and you have to put one foot in front of the other. And again, you have to be your own hero and you have to keep your eyes focused ahead and you have to keep going because your life is going to keep moving forward, whether you're in it or you're not. And it's better to be in it with your head in it, moving forward, than it is to be looking in that rearview mirror and thinking, I should have done this, I should have done that. And so thank you for asking me that question, because I really hadn't thought about that specific quote in a long time, but I have to go back to, it's just one of my favorites.
I love that. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share today that I haven't asked you?
I really want to share that, for me, I don't have a business degree. I don't have an MBA in business. I'm not your stereotypical, college graduate with a degree in business. I'm self-taught. I love learning. I love reading. I love learning about business. I love learning about the psychology of business. I actually went to school to go into social work, which does help me in a lot of ways in business. But what I really want any person, male or female, listening to this, what I really want them to know is that your credentials in business do not need to be determined by a degree that is hung on your wall. And oftentimes, more than none, or more than not, the business owners that I meet that I really look up to, the mentors that I've had, the great discussions I've had, the entrepreneurs that just don't give up, 9 times out of 10, they are the ones that do not have the business degrees. And so I just want to share that you, as you go into business, if you want to start a business, and as you go into business, there's all these different levels in business that I've learned that come from being self-taught, working in your own business, understanding that learning your systems, new techniques, understanding the energy behind your business, the energetics of business, the psychology of business, how business looks, how your business can look, but really above all, like understanding yourself and how you operate within your business is more valuable than any degree I think you can get at any college or university. It's really important. And so take the risk. If I can end the interview on anything, it's if it gets in your head, even for a millisecond, you were meant to do it. If you are an entrepreneur, and if it enters your mind for a second, hey, I think I want to own a coffee shop, that means it's in your destiny to do so. And you've just got to figure out a way to do it. Or if you're an artist that wants to bring your art to the market, to a marketplace, and start expanding on that, if it enters your mind in any way, shape, or form, you're meant to do it. It's part of your destiny. So even if it enters your mind and it scares you to death, it's supposed to scare you to death. Like, it is supposed to make you afraid. And it's that fear that will drive you, that will motivate you to take the step and take the leap and go into business for yourself, and don't wait. So that's what I tell my girlfriends, and that's what I tell my daughter. And that's just what I want most everyone to know from this interview, is that if you can dream it, you can do it. Just get out there and do like most Alaskans do, and roll up your sleeves and get to work, and don't stop until it's done.
You are so wise, Teal. Thank you so much for joining me today on I'm Too Busy and sharing your inspiring journey. Your story shows that with passion, determination, and deep community roots, it's possible to build meaningful businesses that honor heritage while creating new opportunities. All your information is in the show notes, and I encourage everyone to look at the Lighthouse and Teal's store and all the amazing things she's doing in Sitka, Alaska. Thank you so much for being on the show today, and I can't wait to see all of the new incredible things that you're up to. Thanks again.
Thank you, Christina. It was my honor. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
I'm so grateful for you.
Oh my gosh, I'm grateful for you. Have a great day. I'm Christina Flach, and I'm too busy, and I'll see you next week.
This has been I'm Too Busy with host Christina Flach. Tune in each week as Christina approaches the concept of success holistically, recognizing that achievement is not solely measured by financial triumphs, but also by maintaining a healthy work-life balance and focusing on self-care. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2